Hello everybody, my name is Ademola Badmos. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And in case you are coming for the first time, please do not forget to subscribe and like the video. So as we did in the last video, we're able to launch the Amazon website. So in this video, we are going to use the Cypress.json file to help us do the same thing that we just done, but we are going to do it in a different way. So what we are going to do essentially is we are going to remove our URL from here. We remove that and we take it into our Cypress.json file. So the format is going to take, remember I told you that the Cypress.json file, it basically changes, it allows us to change the configuration of the Cypress runner. And I did show you in my previous video how that is achieved. So let's just look at it for a bit here. So if I open the runner, because I've messed with the Cypress.json file, it would crash. So by just trying again, it will be returned. Then we can go to settings and check configuration, and then you will see that the base URL has been changed when we did not have anything in it. Let me remove this right now. If I remove this, and I go back to the Cypress runner, I click tests and I go back to settings, if it hasn't changed, it has changed back to null. Nothing is there. But if I return what I've just taken out, if it's returned, what we are going to see, if I go to tests from the settings tab and I check the configurations, you see it has changed. So now what we just need to do is, instead of writing the URL here, we'll just put a /. What this will essentially do is, once it tries to compile the old Cypress package and it sees this, it goes into the Cypress.json file to pick the URL that is available there. So that way you can, maybe you have a very long URL to write, you can put the base URL and just add the endpoint at the end and do this. Just add the endpoint with the remainder of the URL there. So it makes your code a bit neater and all, but that's not just the only application of it. I'm just giving you an example of what can be done. So let's just look at our runner and see if it's still working. So we still have this there. We might as well just delete them now because we are not going to use them for anything. So let me delete this and also delete this. So if I go here and I come back to tests, okay, it will still be there until I restart the runner, but let's just run our index the way it is right now with the Cypress.json file included. So it's going to run. Let's see. So it didn't write the name of the URL here, but it automatically loads it. So that shows what we can do. So let's further play with the Cypress.json file. So let's load our runner again. Let's stop what we're running. Just go to settings and change some configurations. So we might want to change the resolution of what our runner looks like. So we can change that by putting in the viewport height and the viewport width. So we can put in the viewport height. I hope I got the spelling of heights. Let's set the height to 900 maybe, or let's say 800. Let's set it to 800. And we set don't let's forget a comma, because that means we are highlighting, we are itemizing. Then we set the viewport width to maybe 1500. So with this done, let's see what we have in the configuration. We've been able to affect it. Viewport height and width has changed. And as I said earlier, we could also change the support file destination. We could change the integration file destination, the plugin file destination, if we so wish. But the idea that Cypress creates is that it checks these default folders first before it begins to check new folders that you must have created. So if you use this folder to continue your integration and installation, in your integration, and you use these folders to achieve your page object modeling, you stand a chance of having a faster script, because once it goes through these folders, it just begins to run your script. It doesn't need to go through extra folders. So those are the things that you can actually you might want to consider when creating your file. So let's create one more step. Apart from visiting, let us try to probably search for a product. So we have to go to our Amazon.com, any one of it. We can go to .ca.com, .co.uk, whichever one. So let's just search for a product. In order to search for a product manually, what do you need to do? You need to type into your text box. So what that means essentially for us is we need to inspect elements and get that text box. Essentially what you're going to do manually, you're going to simulate it. That's just what automation is. You're simulating your manual actions. So if you're going to type, you have to type into the text box, and this is a text box. It can be identified by its tag, or by its ID, or by its class name, by its other attributes. But according to the Cypress best practices, it is better to create a data CY attribute. Maybe in a video we will talk about data CY attributes, or maybe in the next video we'll just talk about identification of elements using the Cypress best practice. In order to do that, I'll just launch up the Cypress documentation, which at this point I would like to recommend that it is good for you guys to use the Cypress documentation, because it has a lot of information that may not even be included here, but I will try as much as possible to go as in-depth as I can based on the peculiarities we are going to see in the course of the tutorial. So now we are going to use the ID. Maybe I think it is important that we talk about element identification, which will be the next thing in the next video. So watch out for that. So we have copied this, so we can just go, oh sorry, we can go here and continue from here. I have just one it block for everything. Should visit Amazon. Then in order to identify that element, we use the command get in Cypress. So in order to put the ID there, the ID is represented by an hash in CSS. It is important to also say that when you're expressing elements location in Cypress, you express them with CSS locators. You use the CSS selector rather. You don't use the ID. So if there is an ID, you convert it to the CSS selector equivalent of it. So now that we've gotten the type, the text box, the search box, what we do, oh sorry about this. Why do I keep doing that? Oh my goodness, I'm a bit clumsy tonight. So what we will do here is you get the text box, and let's say we want to type the word Ferrari, or let's say iPhone or something. Ferrari, I think I got it. Okay, so a Ferrari, then you click the search button, right? So which means you're going to also click a search button. So let's just look for the search button and copy that. So this is the search button. It has this ID, and it also has a class. And also let's just use its ID. Is it an input? Well, it is an input. I was expecting it to be a span or a button tag, but it is what it is. So we copy this, and we add it to our code. Then we do the same thing. In order to locate it, we do a cy.get, and because it is an ID that we copied, we are going to have an hash as a prefix for it. Then we add that to it. So now for the text box, manually what do we do on the text box? We type. So which means we have to type into the text box that we identified, that we identified here, right? So we just type. That's the command you use to type. Then we paste what we want to type into it, Ferrari. And the next thing that we will do after that is since we want to click the search box, we just type the command click, and this should essentially run for us. So let us go into our code and check. As you can see, the folders that we deleted earlier is no longer there. So we click on the file to run. I'll show you another way you can run it from the test runner now, but let's just look at this. As you can see, the resolution has changed. It has filled the screen and it has visited. So let us see what else. It has typed Ferrari, and oh, we have an error, an unexpected token, syntax error, unexpected token in JSON at a point, uncut exception. The following error occurred in your Cypress code unexpectedly at position 0. Okay, so let us see what the error is. But it did work, but it says it caught an error. So let's see what that error is. From our code, it doesn't look like there is an error. So we need to understand that error. So let us look at the error response again. So it says there is an uncut exception event. So if there is an uncut exception which we don't have control over, it's better to turn it off. So we will do just that, and we will turn it off. So in order to turn it off, we need to write a Cypress event. We haven't gotten there yet, but there's a requirement for us to do that now. So we can actually make that one. Oh, it's a lot of things, but let's just put it into the it block first. Hopefully it should work from there. So we create a Cypress event. One of the Cypress events that we'll have to do is we use the on to do the event for us, and what we want to do there is what is the error again? We should get oh, we didn't capture the error. So let us try to replicate the error first before we put in our solution. Let me comment that out and let me run the test. Let the test run itself again. Hopefully the error will occur again, then we will be able to see what the error is, then handle the error. As it is right now, the error did not repeat itself, but that is, I am quite sure that it is an uncut exception error. So I would probably just write a snippet to handle it so it would not repeat itself anymore in our code. There are two ways to do it. You can put it in that particular test block, but I think the best practice is the best way to go about it, and that means that I will write before each block. So it means that the exception would always be turned off at every time it wants to run a test, or a before test. So it means that before any test runs at all, it would have already executed, so it will turn off that event. So that is what we are going to do. So in order to do that, we have to go into our code and do just that. So let's go into our code now. So this is our code, and let us write a before block and finish that there. Before, let's write just a before. So inside the before, we just put in the function arrow. So we write Cypress, then we do the on, and inside here we have the on cut exception, then we'll have the arrow function. As usual, we create the arrow function inside it, then we just tell it to return false. So it means that it would return a false thing at every time it tries to run. So let us test our code and see now if this is work. Before is not defined. Oh, let's use we did not write that before properly. It's supposed to be a small one. Before, I think, yeah, this is how it should be. Yeah, it's working now. So at this point, it has already turned off any kind of uncut exception for us, so we will not have that error ever again. So if you like this video, please, if you are watching this video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, And in the next video, we'll talk about element locators and how to identify them as regards Cypress, not the general knowledge of element location. So expect that we'll work with the Cypress documentation. See you in the next video. Bye bye.